Okay, welcome back to my channel. Today it's Lauren, your host, the only host, and today we are going to be talking about Demi Lovato's new album, Dancing with the Devil, The Art of Starting Over. So, before we get started, I will have all of my Instagram, Twitter links in my description. Further, there does need to be a general trigger warning for this video because of a lot of discussions of sexual assault, of drug addiction, drug struggles, as well as eating disorders. So if any of those, she's back on the paper. If any of those topics, so eating disorders, also self-harm. I don't think I'll talk about it, but it is something she has talked about. So eating disorders, self-harm, drug addiction, or sexual assault. If that's triggering to you, please click off this video. I am going to be discussing heavy subjects and I don't want to catch that off guard. Now, moving into this, I have not listened to Demi in a while because she hasn't been around in a while. And that's because of the very famous drug struggles she has had and drug overdose in 2018. So I want to start by recommending the documentary that just came out. It's on YouTube Premium. And if you have YouTube Premium, please watch it. I would, kid you not, get a free trial to watch this. It is so well done, and I am so proud of Demi for coming forward and sharing her story in such a real way. One of the things I like the most about the documentary is that they're really good about trigger warnings for each episode. So if you might be okay discussing eating disorders and that's not triggering to you, but sexual assault specifically is, they do a really good job of letting you know at the beginning of the episode, and then I think also throughout the episode, what the trigger warning is. I don't think documentaries about artists are anything new. I know they're not. They're not anything new. They're not necessarily anything special either, but they do oftentimes portray a certain vision of the artist. They have a mission, right? Like there's a reason they're sharing what they're sharing with us. And a lot of times that can be very like, oh, woe is me, I'm the victim, look at like, oh, what happened behind the scenes that was so terrible. And while that might not detract from the struggle they're going through, it's not exactly a realistic viewpoint of the situation. Something I really like about Demi's documentary, which is titled Dancing with the Devil, is that she does go through really, really tough subjects. But it's not just about her. You in the documentary also see issues that her staff went through, that her best friends went through, her family went through. So it's not, oh, here's all the shit I went through and my family was wholly supportive. While she does have a very supportive team, there's a lot of discussion, especially as we're moving through the documentary, about their own struggles, about the staff members being accused of being involved in her drug addiction, of her friends getting death threats. And it's not to like make you sway towards Demi. If anything, it really gives you the weight of how stupid Demi's addiction was, how stupid it was for her to go back to drugs. And that's something she says herself, right? Like, I'm not putting that on her or judging her. She herself is sitting there being like, listen, I caused all of this to the people around me. And that was so terrible of me. And I think it's really, really good to see her taking true responsibility. And she does a really good job of painting the realistic image of what that does, and the realistic image of the danger she puts herself in when she gets involved in that light, when she gets involved in drugs again. So anyways, really, really, really good documentary. So her basic history, she obviously started as a Disney icon. That's how I first know her, was like a Disney girl. And she was part of the iconic Disney crew with Selena Gomez and Dylan and Cole Sprouse, the High School Musical cast. and they were part of this collective of like, oh, and the Jonas Brothers. And they were part of this collective of like people with purity rings and like, oh, we're all such good friends. And she talks about like the issues with that. Miley Cyrus obviously had like a much larger public separation from that identity, and Demi's happened more over time, I feel. But that same kind of group of people that we are now realizing was highly traumatizing. The media treated her similarly to Miley Cyrus and similarly to Britney Spears. Britney Spears, Miley Cyrus, Demi all kind of got this same treatment of like, the second they did something wrong, the media was like, oh my God, they are fucking crazy. They are running away from God, blah, 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 and just really like made them villains, you know, in the media, which is so not fair to them. They were really struggling with things all at points in their lives where they are about to enter adulthood, and they didn't really know how to deal with what had happened to them as children. She was treated very unfairly in the media and villainized, and the people around her were villainized, and she's very talented and deserved none of that. Talent or not, deserved none of that. But I want to make that clear because moving forward, I'm not going to say that I like all of these songs, and I want to make it very clear it's not because they're bad songs. It's not because Demi is not a good singer. It's not because Demi deserved any of that, right? I'm going in as somebody who just wants to know what the music sounds like. Demi deserves all the love in the world. Let's get into the rankings. Sorry, Molly's running around. There are 19 songs on this album. It's called Dancing with the Devil, The Art of Starting Over. And it's really about her struggles and journeys for the past 2 years. I kind of separated these into tiers and then did put them in a ranking order. But if they've two of them that are like flipped that you like it's not that big of a deal of like if I put one over the other, yeah. It's kind of just like a general ranking, like a general, but like they might change over time too, you know, like I might become more attached to songs. So, but we're gonna start with the intro, because it's not a song, it's words. Now she does a really good job of crafting the album. I don't think any artist like willy-nilly throws them together, but I do think it's very important to remember that albums are supposed to be listened to in an order, and the intro is actually not the first song. There's like, I think 3 and then the intro, but it does a really good job of separating and kind of taking you through a journey as you go through the album, and she introduces that obviously in the intro. So it's the last one, but she does a good job putting the album in order. Next is Mad World, because it's not an original song. It's a cover of Mad World, which like is a good song. Hi, Kat. It's a good song and she sings it well. I just think I'm a little disappointed she didn't do anything with the song. I feel like that would have elevated it if, you know, she added some more harmonies and really brought out some of that like higher belting voice that she has, because like she didn't, and so it kind of just fell flat for me personally, but like it's a good cover. So the next song is What Other People Say, which is with Sam Fisher. I don't know Sam Fisher. Based on the song, I would assume he's a country singer. I don't like country. I don't. Sorry. And I also don't think that he adds anything to the song. And I think that's really where it fell flat for me, because there are other songs that like we'll get to where I don't necessarily like love the production or maybe like the melody itself, but I might really like her singing. And the reason that this is lower than those, where she does sound really nice in the song and there are some good lyrics, like it's an important message to not care what other people say, but Sam Fisher, I kind of think detracts from the song. I don't know if he has a good voice or not, because I don't know who he is. But also, like, this collab isn't showing me if he has a good voice or not. And I think that's a real issue. If you're having somebody on a track, they need to be adding something, right? Like, they really need to be contributing. And if I can't tell walking away from a song if he sounds good or not, then it's not doing what it needs to be doing, right? That makes sense? I think so. So that's where that is. The next is 15 Minutes. So 15 Minutes is a song about someone getting their 15 minutes of fame and then like, bye, like you got your time, leave now. And it's a good song. Actually, that's a lie. I don't like the song, but there's nothing objectively wrong with it. She has some really nice belting at the end, but 15 Minutes, it just doesn't do much for me. I think it's one of the songs that has the least relatable emotion. Hey babe. I myself have not struggled with drug addiction. I have struggled with sexual assault and eating disorders, but I know a lot of people haven't. So a lot of these songs, even though they're about one of those 3 issues or like relationships she's had, either with friends and family or with a significant other, and obviously not everybody can relate to all of her issues, but she does a good job of taking her experience and connecting with it emotionally. I think she does that really, really well in a lot of these songs coming up. She's a very emotional singer, and I love being able to hear the emotion she's having when I'm listening to the song. So I just don't think 15 Minutes does that. For me personally, it's not enough about being used to like be comparable to like, oh, if I've had a friendship where somebody's used me to get what they want, or if I had a lover who just like took and took and took and never cared about me, then I would be able to relate to that emotion, but it kind of feels a little one tone compared to some of the other songs. So next is Good Place. It's the last song in the album, and I do think it's a good choice for the last song in the album. I talked about with the intro how she puts the album together very intentionally, and she goes through everything. And we start in like kind of like a really dark place of like hopelessness, but Good Place is what it ends on, and it's a very nice note. I still just didn't have the emotional connection as much. Maybe that's on me, but it's a good song. It's what I put in for this tier. The next 3 songs, this one and then the next 2, I put in the tier called Right Mood. So the tiers I separated were my top, which are like my top 5. They're gonna stay in my playlists for a second. The next are the really good ones. And what that means for me personally is they're really good, which means I will be able to listen to them most times without skipping. So kind of like regardless of my mood. Right Mood is the opposite, where but like also if I'm in that mood, I'm in that mood. And I just kind of feel that way about Good Place. Like if I really want to be like, I put it on like my road trip playlist, I think. Like it seems like a good song for that, but like not for me personally. Next is I See You, which is Madison's lullaby. Madison is her sister. She's in the documentary. She's her little sister. And it's a good song. It's one where I needed to be in the right mood. It is kind of a lullaby. Her voice is beautiful in it. And it's a really sweet message about feeling proud of her little sister, about like knowing her sister can accomplish anything, and like just waiting for that to happen and having complete faith that her sister's gonna be okay and do wonderful things. For me, that's just like not a mood I have often, like, cause it's not saying she loves her sister. That seems like an assumed in the song. It's specifically talking about like her pride and affection and like desire to see what her sister does. So I think this is a song I'm gonna come to because my youngest brother is graduating high school in May. So I have a feeling I'll be coming back to this song because I'm really excited for him to like go off to college and do wonderful things. It's just not an emotion I sit in like often. So that's I See You. The next is The Way You Don't Look at Me. Now, The Way You Don't Look at Me, I love the lyrics of this song. Demi is a wonderful lyricist throughout all of these, and I really like how she opens this song with like her changing herself for what people are saying to her. It says like, I lost 2 pounds in the last week because you told me I shouldn't eat. Like, it's just like her changing herself for like what is expected of her. And The Way You Don't Look at Me is like, I feel like it's open to interpretation a little. It's one of 2 things as far as I can see. The first is the reference of like, oh, like I see how he looks at you, like, oh, he's so in love when he looks at you, like, ooh, big heart eyes. And like the opposite of that, like the way he doesn't look at her, like he doesn't have the love in his eyes, he doesn't have like the giddiness or affection or like hard eyes stuff, right? Or the way like he's avoiding eye contact. So either one of them is like he has the eye contact but not the emotion. The other interpretation is avoiding eye contact, avoiding physicality. And I think they're both good emotions. They are very different, even though they seem very similar. But I think those are two very different things from my perspective. But it's a good song. I don't think I like the production, and I think that's what's holding it back for me. But the lyrics are very good. The Kind of Lover I Am is next, and it's a good song. Is about demisexuality and the kind of lover she is. And she talks about not caring like what the person has, just wanting to like be in love. And it's a good song. She like she discusses not being monogamous, which go off here for that. So it's a good bop. It seemed, yeah. So it's kind of like, if I'm in the mood, I'm in the mood, but like, I don't know. It wasn't one I connected to quite as much. I don't know, because I really do like the lyrics, and I just like, maybe the production again isn't quite as good, or there isn't like quite as much emotion. I just like, for some reason, like have as many visualizations for it. So that's what I was gonna get to in later, is I am a very visual listener for music. So when I'm listening to songs, how I know it's a good song essentially is if I can like have a visual for it or not. So like the songs at the end, I just don't have a visual for. Like they made me, I guess, like feel nothing. Like they're good songs, but they didn't make me feel anything. So I just don't have like a visualization of that song. Where like I See You, even though it's like a song I need the right mood for, I do have like this visualization of like me listening to it as I'm like getting ready for my brother's like graduation. But like what other people say with Sam Fisher, 15 minutes, I have no visualization. I just can't, like no picture came to mind. Good place, driving through car, road trip, like happiness. Some of these other ones I'll talk about my visualization, but that's what my brain does, is it takes the music and makes a visualization for it. If I don't have that visualization, I'm just not connecting with it. So The Kind of Lover I Am, I have like a iffy visualization, but the song itself is good. So that's why I put it where it is. Now, the next category we're moving into, my top 11. I didn't have my top 10, but we're moving into my top 11. The next song is Easy. Now, I really debated these 11, because they're like really good. There's like not a weak link in them, which makes it difficult to rank. But I put Easy next. It's with Noah Cyrus. I don't want to make comparisons because Noah and Miley are different people, but when you're listening to the song, you can hear similarities in their voice. You can tell like Miley and Noah are related. And part of me is just like, I really am nostalgic for that Disney time period in my life, and I miss Miley Cyrus. So Noah's cool too though, but her voice is beautiful. And this is what I was saying to Sam Fisher. Noah adds shit to this song. Like Noah makes this song objectively a much better song. The harmonies at the end are gorgeous. She's hitting some very nice notes. Demi's keeping like this very solid, beautiful sound. Their tones are really pure. This is like objectively a good song. And about like, the most difficult part of leaving is like making it look easy. I'm not going to speculate to like necessarily what's it about, because like it could have different motivation. Also, like I do think it's important to recognize that Demi lays out lyrics very clearly and is very raw with issues she's dealing with, but she's no exception to like the idea that generally artists can be talking about one thing in a song but conveying an emotion that's actually about something else. Right? Which is why it's good. That's a sign of a good songwriter. That's why Demi's a very good lyricist, is her emotion is about the emotion itself, And even though she's portraying it to be about a certain situation in her life, because she's coming from an emotion-filled place, it's really relatable to a lot of people. And this is one of those songs. Like, it's kind of about a relationship. Like, oh, like the hardest part of leaving is like it seeming easy, or like, how do we just act like everything's okay moving forward? That's very applicable to like a lot of times in life. Like a lot of stuff in life. It's a beautiful song. Now, so the next song is Carefully. So that's my number 10. It is about, if you think you can handle me, please handle me carefully. But it's about like the idea of falling in love again and letting somebody take care of you. It is like a little bit of a country twang. I'm not really sure what makes something country, so I don't know if I'm saying that wrong. Maybe it's literally not even country. But I say in like a lot of pop and rap. So for me, this is country, but like it's good and I'm not mad at it. And it gives me like giddy feelings about a new relationship, dancing in like a big t-shirt when he texts back vibes. It makes me feel, I know this isn't like the same emotion, but it means the same thing in my life, these two songs of like Taylor Swift's Love Story and Carrie Underwood's Before He Cheats. Like that kind of country pop. I don't even know if it's real country. I don't know what country is. Genres don't mean anything. Those two songs are like very like nostalgic, like happy. Those two songs and then Carefully kind of like take up the same space in my brain. And that's a very good space. So for me, I was like, it's cute. It's a good song. And her voice is, again, like in all of these, really gorgeous. Something that she has a tendency to do in her songs is it starts a lot more raw, and that can either mean that there's not as much production or the voice is just more simplistic, the melody itself. And then over time, it really, really builds. So the end of every song has significantly more energy than the beginning. There are some places where that's very successful and there's some places where it's not. Carefully is a song where the building seems correct. So with the visualization in my head, it makes sense to build, right? Like that emotion of like slow empowerment, love story, like it talking through like, oh my God, new relationship, like forever isn't enough time. It makes sense to build that emotion. So I think it's a really good song. Now, number 9 is Butterfly. Butterfly is a really good song. There are a couple things that I think edged it out over Carefully. One of them is the musical production. There's a very, very cool use of the, I'm assuming it's a bass guitar. It could also be like, I guess a cello, or maybe like there's another string instrument I don't know about. But you can very much hear like the chords, like the strings themselves being plucked. Like ba 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 ba. That's not a good articulation. Listen to the song. But you can hear like the strings being plucked, and that's like the main metronome of the, like that's the timekeeper. And it builds quicker. So we just talked about how she takes time to build songs. This one was more successful because she built it quicker. Where like when you get to a minute into the song, there's already been a lot of nice layering, a lot of harmonies. There are really good uses of silent space. So when there's nothing in the song, there's very good pauses with that main like bass guitar. There's a really good use of timing and a really good use of silence with that. And the lyrics are cute. It's about like change. The music production really, I think, steps up at this point. So with Easy, it stepped up, and then Butterfly, it feels like a very self-realized song. Like it feels very like finished. Next is California Sober. California Sober also has a visualization. You are driving in a car and you're triumphant. I don't put my windows down in the car because my hair gets so tangled and I hate it. But in a movie, this is a scene where you are driving like highway through desert, like wind in your hair in a convertible, like laughing with a friend, like on a road trip, freeing experience, part of the road trip. It feels very triumphant. And it's a really, really good song. And it's one that I'm very excited to put in the car. I did have it on in the car today and I enjoyed it. But I have a 3-hour drive home whenever I go home from like Oklahoma to Texas. And I'm excited to like have it on in the car because it's a really good song. and you should listen to it a lot. It's one of my favorite. Like, I understand it's 8. I might move it to 7. I'll keep it 8 because like that's what I have it at right now, but it's good. 7 though is Lonely People. I'm keeping it number 7. It gets to the chorus quicker. Now, listen, the thing is, I like what she does with building her songs, and I don't think it's a negative thing that she builds them up and the intro's not as much, and then it like builds to like really belty, beautiful, beautiful layering and like more music layers as well at the end. But I do tend to like the songs that kind of like start quicker, I think. So this one starts quick, and the premise, it's because I like the premise more. California Sober is very, very good, and it's not a song I'll be skipping often, but it will be a song I will be skipping if I'm not feeling triumphant. Lonely People is happy. It is jubilant, which I know are technically synonyms, but the difference is it's not about being with somebody. It's not about conquering anything. It's about being happy, sitting right where you are as a lonely person. Which I absolutely adore. It feels very sleepover song, like screaming it in the car with your best friends, like that kind of song. And about self-value, but I like it because it's in an angry way. It's not punk at all, but it makes me feel very like, fuck the system, fuck marriage, like that kind of like punk idea of like fighting the system. And yeah, one of the lines is about like how Romeo and Juliet are dead. Romeo has no sequel. You're right, like we're all dying regardless. We're all lonely. Let's just live life and have fun. And that's the sentiment I think we all need right now. So I put it at number 7. Next, 6 is Dancing with the Devil. Now, I don't know. It's a very good song, and it's the one that has the music video. It's the title track for the album. It's not my favorite, and I couldn't put it in my top 5. It is a very, very good song. It is a very, very powerful music video. The same trigger warnings apply, even more so. Now, they do trigger warning the music video, which we love to see, but I have to say that because she reenacts a lot of her trauma. She reenacts the overdose. She reenacts like the drug dealer assaulting her the night before, her being in the hospital, hooked up to a lot of stuff. If any of that is going to be like, you're like sitting here watching this, like, okay, I can talk through it and not be triggered, but you're gonna be triggered by visually seeing that, don't watch the music video. If you're not, watch the music video. They don't show the assault, to clarify. It is just like a heavy, heavy implication. And if I'm being honest, if I had not watched the documentary, I probably like, it could have gone over my head. Watching it, knowing it, there's no way it was gonna go over my head. I know the story, she told us the story, I know that was assault. But they don't show anything. They kind of just wake up with her like naked in the bed and he's like leaving. And she's like dead. So that's the music video. It's a really good song. It's a very raw, very real, and it just talks through dancing with the devil, battling with addiction, everything like that. It's a really good song. It's very powerful. I just, in my top 5, I have songs that I'm gonna play more often. It's very like heavy, and it's a very necessary song, but it's not an emotion that I always want to sit with. So I put it a little bit lower because these other ones I'm gonna talk about like more. So that's where I'm at with Dancing with the Devil. We are now on my top 5. This video is so long, I'm really sorry. Next is Melon Cake. Melon Cake is my first of my top 5. It is a fun song, and it is entirely about eating disorders, but I don't think you have to have had an eating disorder to understand the feeling. Now, this is going to be a song of, it's a song for the summer. It is not the song of the summer. I'm not claiming that. I think it should be a song of the summer. It is fun. And the reason I think it'll do well is it's because it's all about freedom. It's all about not restricting yourself from an eating disorder perspective. It's about melon cake on your birthday. So like It's not uncommon to like you can like put icing on like watermelon, make it look like a cake and eat it like a cake, but it's obviously not a cake, it's still like melon. But it's like a healthy alternative and something that you can do to like not be triggering. So that's what she's discussing, is like having melon cake on her birthday and people being fired because she was allowed chocolate when like they're trying to get her to eat healthier and dieting and stuff like that. So there are like discussions in the verses of things that are like very specific to the eating disorder, but overall it is just a bop. It is a bop. And I think especially with people having more of a summer this year with vaccinations, get vaccinated. May 1st, I think, is when every state has to have vaccination accessible to all adults. So you should have at least your first shot of your vaccination by June 1st, with people like being more active this summer. I think like the freedom everybody's gonna relate to. Play the song. Next is The Art of Starting Over, which I think is also a title track. I'm back. I hope I'm in frame. I'm upset. I recorded this whole video. Turns out I ran out of storage and I didn't record the last 4 songs. So I'm back. I think the sun is significantly more set. Hopefully you guys can't tell, but we're gonna do my top 4 because those are the 4 best ones. I'm like upset that I got rid of them. Now, number 4 is The Art of Starting Over. Visualization. This one it is golden hour and you're moving into a new apartment with your friends. It is you are hammocking in a nice, breezy, beautiful forest. It is about starting over, and it's right after the intro, so it's kind of that second title track transition from Dancing with the Devil, Darkness, into starting over, reclaiming yourself. And it's a very, very, very good song. It's a song that I will be playing for a long time to come. She talks about, I'm lonely, but at least like I have myself to hold me. It's overall very empowering. I know like a lot of this album is, but like it's a really good song. And it's also a song of the summer. Melon Cake and Art of Starting Over are like 2 songs that are going into summer. Art of Starting Over, I don't know how to explain this. It is simultaneously giving me spring, summer, and fall. So you figured that one out because it's giving me all of those emotions. So 3 is My Girlfriends Are My Boyfriends. This is with Saweetie. This is the third collab, second like ranking. And it is very, very good. Saweetie and Demi both deserve all of the love right now. TMZ, go throw yourself off a cliff. Quavo, go throw yourself off a cliff. For those of you that do not know, there's elevator footage of Quavo physically abusing Saweetie while they were dating. But it came out from TMZ, which is an evil, 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 evil corporation. And it puts us in a strange predicament where people don't believe women. Ever. People don't believe them. But then we do have proof of what happened, but that proof wasn't obtained with their consent. Very, very similar to the Megan Thee Stallion shooting, right? Her being shot. Absolute incels on the internet. Months and months and months saying it was fake, saying it didn't happen. We have proof it happened. We know it happened. We have proof that this abuse to Saweetie happened. We know it happened. But also, like, TMZ's profiting off of her trauma. She didn't consent to this being in the public eye. It's just very fucked overall. But her verse in the song is very good. Her verse in the song is very, very good. Her verse adds a lot, right? Like I was talking about, like, collabs have to add something to the song. This does that. This adds a really good rap verse that gives more meaning. It changes the flow of the song. And I think it was really good. It kind of frustrates me when people stay in one genre, especially because collaborators are such an easy way to change genres and like add some fusion without like necessarily your effort, right? Like Demi still just did Demi's thing, but bringing Saweetie in for this like changes the vibe of the song, which I think was very, very smart of her. The second one is Metam Last Night with Ariana Grande. I want a music video now. I wanted a music video yesterday when the album came out. This is such a good song. There are some really cool violin layers in here. There's airiness in their vocals. There's power in their vocals. They're talking about like meeting the devil last night and like him being attractive and them being like, yeah, I met him and honestly, so what? Because he seemed cool. But it's a really good song. And the two of them together, just vocal powerhouses. They really ate it up and it deserves a music video now. So, the last song is Anyone. Anyone deserves everything in this world. It was recorded, I think, like a couple days or weeks before her overdose, and it's a lot of her emotion from that time period of just hopelessness, of feeling like nobody's listening to her, of feeling like she is just asking for anyone to hear her. And it's really powerful. She performed at the Grammys in 2020, which are the 2019 Grammys, last year. And it's one of 3 performances I remember. I remember Camila Cabello's because it was garbage and she's garbage, and it was a PR stunt right after her Tumblr came out, her old like racist stuff. And then BTS's was really good with Lil Nas, and then I remember this performance. It was emotional, it was tear-jerking, it was so good. And that live performance has a Spotify version that you can listen to. So you can stream the Spotify version if you so choose. And it's an emotion, like I know I said I put Dancing with the Devil lower because it's a heavy emotion I don't always like to sit in. This is definitely a heavier emotion, but it's one that makes you feel the emotion, like for those minutes. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I have to be sad or I have to feel alone to put it on. It's like a theater performance. Like I put it on and I'm like, I am hopeless in this world. I have to be hopeless in this world. I have to belt this song. Like, very like Adele vibes, honestly. Like, you know, like Adele has some like really good, really belty songs, like Rolling in the Deep, Hello, that like, when I was singing Hello, I'm not feeling that. Like, I'm not calling an ex-lover. I was like a teenager. I was a child. But it makes you want to sing it. It makes you want to belt it in a car. And it's really, really good. And it's such a personal song. So that finishes up my rankings. Feel free to share yours in the comments if you have thoughts. Again, it is pretty general. So outside of my top 6, if you have like 1 or 2 off or you feel one deserved higher, go for it. You can feel that. In the top 6, I'm pretty set. So sorry if you have a different opinion, you're wrong. But it was so good. I'm going to have resources for sexual assault survivors, eating disorders, drug addictions, and self-harm down in the description. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys want to see anything from me, I am looking into doing some skincare videos, maybe some makeup videos. So anything you want to see from me, please let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.